Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, November the 1st. We got a 9-game Monday slate, guys. As always, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each game on the slate, very quickly, just kind of go through each game and give my early thoughts, what stands out from each team, what I do like, and then, as we go through each game, we will build out just kind of an early core, talk through some plays that I like, give out, about 4 or 5 early plays that do stand out to me. But as always, guys, with a sport like NBA, nothing's set in stone. I make all my videos the night before. These are just kind of my first looks of the slate. If you do want to get more of my updated NBA content, after we get starting lineups, after we get, injury news and all that, I do provide updated core plays. I do provide a lot more updated content over on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description if that is something that does interest you. And you can also check out the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks, link down below in the description. Prize Picks, new DFS site, more player prop based site, where you're basically just picking the over or the under on the projections that they have listed for each player. Now, right now, at the time I'm recording this video, Sunday night, they do not have any NBA projections posted yet. But obviously they have stuff for NFL. They have stuff for Monday Night Football, for the Giants and Chiefs game. So if you want to, do stuff for NFL, you could do that. Obviously, they will post NBA projections probably early Monday morning. You can take a look at their board. You can, take the over or the under on some projections they have. They do, points projections, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made. They also have fantasy point projections for each player, and you can just pick the over or the under on those. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10x your money on Prize Picks. So check them out, guys. If you have not yet, they're the sponsor of this video. Be sure when you sign up for Prize Picks, use promo code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. So basically, if you deposit $50, $100, whatever it may be, they will double your first deposit when you use code NOAH. So check them out if you have not yet. And let's go ahead and take a look at Monday's 9-game slate. So we'll start off with the Cleveland and Charlotte game, talk about the Cavs first. So far this season, the Cavs have not been a team that I've really rostered much. I think I played Evan Mobley. I'm pretty sure like the first day of the season because he was like really, really cheap. And really after that, I haven't played like any Cavs this year. I did play Ricky Rubio one day when Garland was out. But this is a team I've kind of been just avoiding all season. Like they never really stand out. No one on the team's ever like a great value. But there's definitely some misprices today. I would say the first guy that stands out to me from Cleveland is Colin Sexton. Now, Colin Sexton's only 5,900 on DraftKings. He's a first, at first look, he's one guy that does stand out to me as just being too cheap today. And on Yahoo, he's only $22 over there at shooting guard. So I kind of like him on both sides. Colin Sexton has not had a great year so far, but we still know Colin Sexton has upside. We still know he's going to be a big part of this Cleveland offense. So far this season, even though he's not been great, he still does lead the team with a 28% usage rate. Sexton's, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to take a ton of shots. He's been inconsistent this year, but we know in close games, Colin Sexton's going to play 34, 35 minutes. When they played this Hornets team earlier in the season, Sexton had a big game, 43 DK points in 35 minutes against Charlotte. It's a good matchup. Charlotte so far this year has been playing relatively fast. They're not really that good of a defensive team. I definitely like Colin Sexton the most from Cleveland today, but there are some other guys you could play in tournaments like Evan Mobley. I don't mind in tournaments. He's going to get big minutes on a nightly basis. He feels priced correctly, but he still has upside to pay off this price tag, and it's a good matchup. Jared Allen, I think, is a sneaky tournament play. Jared Allen's one of these guys that when he does get big minutes, he can produce. His minutes have been so up in the air this year. Some nights he'll play 20 minutes. Some nights he'll play 35, 36 minutes. Earlier this year when they played Charlotte, he didn't do very well. Only 18 DK points in 27 minutes, but I think he was in foul trouble that game. Did have 4 fouls in those 27 minutes. I think Jared Allen, as a super low-owned tournament play in a good matchup against the Hornets, definitely is playable. But really, Colin Sexton's the guy that stands out most to me from Cleveland. And then like Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, even like these guys you can go to in tournaments for low ownership. But I like Sexton the most from this Cavs team. Now looking at the Charlotte side here, talking about the Hornets, LaMelo Ball 8,500. Look, LaMelo Ball has been super frustrating to roster this year, but he finally had a good game Sunday. Of course, LaMelo, when I don't play him, has a big game against Portland. 33 minutes, or played 33 minutes finally, had 52 DraftKings points. I've been saying it all year. The LaMelo, when he starts to get 34, 35 minutes a night, which I think he's going to play most nights, he's going to have big games. And surely enough, he played 33 minutes Sunday night and had 52 DK points. He took 20 shots, had 9 rebounds, 7 assists to go along with 27 points. It's a good matchup against the Cavs. The Cavs are not good defensively at all. They've allowed the I wanted to pull this up. They've allowed the fourth most fantasy points to point guards this season. Their backcourt defense with Garland and Sexton has never been good at all. Both those guys are not good defenders, so it's a great spot for LaMelo. I think with his price coming up, he probably comes in a little bit lower owned today. So LaMelo is someone I also kind of like at first look, and he's also pretty affordable on Yahoo. His price actually went down over on Yahoo. So at $35, I do like LaMelo quite a bit over there on Yahoo, and I don't think he gets much ownership over on Yahoo either. So definitely LaMelo's my favorite play from Charlotte. Miles Bridges, he's been great this year, but at $7,900, I'm just not going to pay that price tag for Miles Bridges. Same with Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, I don't like at his price. Really, for me, from the Charlotte team, it's probably just LaMelo, and that's it. So we can move on to the next game, talk about the Spurs and the Pacers. So on the Spurs today, really good spot here against the Pacers. The Pacers so far this year have been playing at a really, really fast pace. They've got they're playing at the fourth fastest pace in the league. So definitely, should be a pretty fast-paced game. But everyone on San Antonio, at least on DraftKings, feels priced right. Like Dejounte Murray's 9,200, Jakob Poeltl's 7,200, Derek White feels priced right. There's no standout plays from the Spurs team with how they're priced. Now, some of these guys you can play in tournaments because they do have upside. Dejounte Murray can put up 50 DK points any night. I think Dejounte Murray he's having a breakout year, and he's probably going to be like an all-star this year. But he's priced correctly. Same with Poeltl. Same with Derek White. Really, all these guys are priced right. If you're playing tournaments and you want to mix and match some of these Spurs guys, I wouldn't mind it because I think probably one of these guys has a big game. But with how they're priced, nobody from San Antonio really stands out to me, even though it is a pretty good matchup. Now on the Pacers side, big news here we're going to have to keep an eye on. Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert both questionable for today. If they both play, I really don't like much from the Pacers because everyone's kind of been priced up for when Brogdon and LeVert were out, or at least when Brogdon was out. Like Sabonis is 10,100 now. Miles Turner's almost 6K. Duarte's almost 6K. TJ McConnell's up to 4,800. Now, TJ McConnell, if Brogdon and LeVert were to both be out, would probably be my favorite play from this Pacers team. The TJ McConnell experience so far these last two games has not gone well. He has started these last two games in place of Brogdon. He's played 33 and 35 minutes, so he's gotten big minutes, but he's not been productive at all, only 22 and 18 DraftKings points. TJ McConnell, normally when he gets minutes, he can be productive. I don't know why he struggled so much these last few games. I think if LeVert and Brogdon were to be out again, if they are both out, then yeah, TJ McConnell, I would like at 4,800, even though he's been bad lately. He still should get the minutes if both those guys are out. And then Sabonis would become a really good pay-up option. He should dominate the usage if Brogdon and LeVert were to sit. But this is just kind of a wait and see for now. If Brogdon and LeVert play, I'm probably not going to play any Pacers today. I would only go to some of these guys if one of those two guys are out. I would prefer that both of them be out before I consider Sabonis at his price, McConnell as well. But yeah, I think we can kind of talk about the next game. That's just about it on this one. So Portland and Philly. Looking at the Blazers here, another team that, God, they just feel priced right. Like Damian Lillard's up to 9,600. Even he's really struggled this year. I think Damian Lillard's one of these guys that is going to have a big game at some point. I keep playing him, and it just keeps not working. Like, he just keeps having bad games. I mean, he just can't make shots, though. Like, against Charlotte Sunday, he just couldn't make a shot. He shot 25% from the field, 14% from three. He still had 38 DraftKings points. He definitely could have had a 50-point game if he could actually made some shots on Sunday. Dame's got upside. We know Dame can put up a massive game any night. But there's definitely other studs I prefer over Dame today, like Jokic, Cat, who we're going to talk about. If Brogdon and LeVert are out, I would definitely prefer Sabonis. So don't really like Dame that much. CJ at his price feels about right. Same with Nurkic. Tough matchup for Nurkic against Embiid. I don't think I'm going to go to Nurkic on this slate. We know Nurkic is a guy that has a lot of upside as well. He's looked a lot better these last few games. Only played 26 minutes against Charlotte on Sunday, but he did have a big game and only 23 minutes against the Clippers. We know Nurkic has a ton of upside. We know he's a very productive player when he's on the floor. But again, against Embiid, that's just not the best spot. Definitely could be worried a bit about foul trouble as well. We know Embiid's really good at drawing fouls. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to really go there. Norman Powell moved back into the starting lineup. He was able to play these last two games. Played 24 minutes against the Clippers, and then last game against Charlotte on Sunday, played 33 minutes, had 28 DK points. I'm assuming Norman Powell plays today. It is a back-to-back, so just keep an eye on that. Sometimes when guys come back from injury, some teams will sometimes rest them on back-to-backs, but assuming Norman Powell plays today and he's in the starting lineup, like he might be my favorite play from the Blazers at only 4,800. If we get 33, 34 minutes from Norman Powell, I mean, he can definitely pay off 4,800, but at their price tags, there's no standout plays from this Portland team, just in my opinion. So moving on to the Philly side, looking at the Sixers here, Joel Embiid, 10,300 against Portland. Definitely can go there in tournaments. Now, is Embiid going to be a priority spend up for me? I don't think so. I'd rather get to Jokic. I'd rather get to Cat. Think I'd rather play Sabonis too if Brogdon and LeVert are out. But we know, Embiid has a ton of upside too. Now, he's been dealing with some sort of injury this season. He's not on the injury report though for today, I don't believe. Yeah, he's not on the injury report for today, which is at least good to see. He's been questionable for like every game this season, but he's played through, or he's played in every game. We really haven't seen massive upside from Embiid. Now, he did have a pretty good game against Detroit, 59 DK points, but we've yet to see that, 65, close to 70-point game that we know Embiid can put up. At 10,300, he's obviously in play. You can play Embiid almost every slate. It's definitely a good matchup. Portland, not good defensively. They're one of the worst defensive teams overall in the league. But I do prefer some other centers. I do prefer some other pay-up options today. Tobias Harris, I mean, there's no way I'm playing Tobias Harris at 9,100. You really need a ceiling game from Tobias Harris to pay out this price tag. Like, Tobias Harris is going to need to put up 50-plus to be a good play at 9,100, and he's yet to do that this season. I'm not going to play Tobias Harris at 9,100. I'm not going to play any of these other Sixers either. There's just nothing that stands out from Philly outside of Joel Embiid. So that's probably it from this Sixers team. I guess Shake Milton at 3,600 could be playable. We'll have to wait and see like if his minutes can start to trend up. Without Ben Simmons, there's definitely more minutes available for a guy like Shake Milton. He was injured to start the season, but he has played their last two games, seen 16 and 19 minutes off the bench. For 3,600, like if I knew we were going to get like 24 minutes from Shake Milton, I think he'd actually be a decent value play, but I mean, there's no guarantee he plays more than 19 minutes. But he's at least playable. 3,600 is pretty cheap for Shake Milton. With Ben Simmons out, there's obviously more point guard minutes available for him and Maxey, but Maxey's expensive now. I don't really have that much interest in him. So I think that does it for this game. Next one, we'll talk about the Bulls and the Celtics. I mean, this is another one, man, that just, God, there's nothing that really stands out. Like, I hate to just go through each game and just say nope, 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 nope. But man, these price tags, like, everyone on the Bulls are expensive today. Like, Vooch is 9,400, Levine's 9K, DeRozan's almost 9K, Lonzo's almost 8K. It's a bad matchup on the road against the Celtics. Could Vooch have a good game? He absolutely could, but am I going to pay 9,400 for Vooch on this slate? Probably not. Am I going to pay 9K for Levine on this slate? Probably not. Like, I don't really see much from the Chicago team that I like. If I had to play somebody, it honestly would probably be just going cheap with Alex Caruso. I think with Patrick Williams done for the season, there's going to be more minutes available specifically for a guy like Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso, I think, will be in the closing lineup most nights. He did play 25 minutes last game. He's played at least 25 minutes in every single game this season. He's only 4,100. Right now, we don't have a ton of standout value today. So I think Alex Caruso at 4,100 probably plays close to 30 minutes off the bench. If you want to go there for value, I think he's definitely playable. But the Bulls, man, everyone on this team feels priced about right, if not a little bit overpriced. Javonte Green, I will mention, just because he did start last game in place of Patrick Williams, but he only played 22 minutes. He wasn't productive at all. Even if Javonte Green starts again, I'm probably not going to play him just because he's one of these guys that doesn't really have any upside. And even if he starts, that's no guarantee that he even gets like 20 minutes. I mean, last game he started and he only played 22 minutes. So, yeah, that's really it for Chicago. Now, on the Boston side, I mean, this is another team where they've really been priced up. Like, Jason Tatum's almost 10K now. Jaylen Brown's almost 9K. Both these guys, I think, should dominate the usage for the Celtics this year. We're going to see big games, a lot of big games from Jason Tatum, a lot of big games from Jaylen Brown. But they're so closely priced to other studs like Jokic, Towns, Embiid. Like, I would just rather play those guys. I think I'm definitely going to be, like, paying up at center today. Those are where some of the best stud options are on the slate. I don't think I'm going to get to Tatum. Tatum's definitely in play, and if you're playing a lot of lineups, I would have Tatum in my player pool. But if I'm only playing one lineup today, which I normally do for NBA, I doubt Tatum makes it into my one lineup at 9,900. Could he have a good game here? He could, but I don't think at 9,900 I'm going to be playing Jason Tatum today. I don't think I'm going to be playing Jaylen Brown at almost 9K. Like, you really need to catch ceiling games from these guys for them to be good plays at their price tags. Whereas Embiid, Jokic, these guys give you almost like a 45, 50-point floor, whereas it almost feels like for Tatum and Brown to put up 50 DK points, that's like a really good game for them, whereas if Jokic puts up 50 DK points today, you're disappointed. So I just feel like the floor and the ceiling is a lot higher on some of those pay-up centers that we're going to talk about. So don't really have a ton of interest in those two. Al Horford's been absolutely amazing this season. He's like turned back the clock. I mean, he's actually been a fantasy monster so far this year. 38, 44, 41, 42 DK points through 4 games. I want to look and see. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see how many minutes or how many fantasy points per minute Al Horford has averaged this season. So Al Horford has played, he's played 121 minutes this season. Al Horford has averaged 1.44 fantasy points per minute. That is freaking insane. Like, that's higher than like James Harden. I mean, Horford's been I don't know what's up with him, but he's been stuffing the stat sheet this year. He looked terrible last year with the Thunder. Had no fantasy upside at all, and now he's back with the Celtics and he looks like his old self. So, am I going to pay $6,500 for Al Horford? Definitely not, but he has been producing way better this year. It's at least good to see, but I still don't think I'm going to play Al Horford. Robert Williams at $6,100. He's someone that I like just because he has a lot of upside. I do worry, with Horford playing these big minutes now, like, is that going to take away from Robert Williams? So far, it really hasn't. Robert Williams has played at least 28 minutes in every single game this season. At $6,100, he feels priced about right, but Robert Williams is a really good point per minute player. Chicago, I don't think is going to be, that great of a defensive team this year. Vooch has never really been that good of a defender. Robert Williams honestly might be my favorite player from Boston if I had to play somebody from this team. But the rest of the Celtics don't really catch my eye. I don't really see anything else I like here. So we can move on to the next game, talk about Washington and Atlanta. So looking at the Wizards today, going to need to keep an eye on the status of Daniel Gafford. So Daniel Gafford has missed the last 2 games. He's questionable for today. We've obviously seen without Gafford, Montrezl Harrell has been the big beneficiary. He has started the last 2 games in place of Gafford. He's played 34 and 35 minutes. He scored 56 and 42 Draftkings points. Montrezl Harrell has been super productive this year with the Wizards. He's been over a fantasy point per minute player. He's been playing big minutes as well in place of Gafford. I assume if Gafford's out again that we see Montrezl Harrell start and probably play 34, 35 minutes. Even at $6,700, I would still like Montrezl Harrell a lot if Gafford's out. If Gafford plays, though, obviously no interest in Harrell. Probably wouldn't be going to Gafford either. And then like Beal at $10K, just another stud that feels priced about right. Whereas for his ceiling, I would guess, like Beal at $10K, he's really going to have to put up a ceiling game to be someone you have to have at his price point. I feel a lot better about Embiid, about Jokic, Cat. Like, I just prefer those pay-up options over Bradley Beal. Like, Bradley Beal, in terms of studs on this slate, would definitely be towards the bottom of my list. I did have a lot of interest in Bradley Beal a couple days ago against Atlanta when Spencer Dinwiddie was out, but, now that the team's fully healthy with Dinwiddie back, don't see too much I love from Beal. I know Beal had a really good game last game, but that game also did go to double overtime, so I don't know if I really want to look too much into that one. And then Dinwiddie and Kuzma, I mean, both of them are priced where they should be. If not, both of them are overpriced. I feel like Dinwiddie and Kuzma should both be priced like in the low 6Ks. I feel like you're definitely overpaying for both those two. So don't see much I like from Washington outside of Montrezl Harrell if Daniel Gafford were to be out again. KCP had a big game when Spencer Dinwiddie was out, but he came back down to earth last game, 15 DK points. I'm not going to play KCP today. So yeah, I think that does it for the Wizards. Now on the Atlanta side here, looking at the Hawks, I don't know if there's any like core plays or cash game options from this Atlanta team, but there are definitely some good tournament plays. Trae Young in tournaments I do like against the Wizards. I mean, the Wizards so far this year been playing super fast. They're actually leading the league in pace this season so far are the Wizards. And then looking at defensive rating, they've been bottom 10 in defensive rating. So the Wizards so far this season have been what we expect them to be, a very fast-paced team and a very bad defensive team. We saw Trae Young play this Wizards team, a couple days ago. He didn't have that great of a game, only 44 DK points in 35 minutes. Trae Young's kind of another guy that we really haven't seen much of a ceiling from him yet this year. His best game was against Detroit when he put up 52 DK points. We've yet to see like that 55, 60-point game from Trae Young. But we know he's got that kind of upside. We know he's someone that's going to take a lot of shots. He's going to get a lot of assists. He has 60-plus point upside against the Wizards. You could definitely catch a ceiling game from Trae Young here. I do like him a good amount as a tournament option. He's not nearly as expensive as guys like Tatum and Jaylen, or not Jaylen Brown, but Tatum and Bradley Beal. Like, you're paying $10K for Bradley Beal, $9,900 for Tatum, whereas you can get Trae Young in a great matchup for a discount. I would just prefer Trae Young, I think, over those guys. Then Clint Capella, he's been on a minutes limit this season, or at least, really haven't seen a ton of minutes from him. He's not playing 35, 36 minutes. He's been capped at around like the 30-minute mark. Most minutes he's played is 29. So with Clint Capella only playing like low 20 or high 20s, high 20s minutes a night, it's just hard to pay $7,400 for him if he's only going to play like 26, 28 minutes. So don't really like Capella. John Collins I do like quite a bit. He just dominated against this Wizards team when they did play a couple days ago. Played 38 minutes, had 48 Draftkings points. It is a great matchup for John Collins. Again, this Wizards team is terrible defensively. John Collins is one of these guys I never get right. It seems like whenever I play him, he always sucks. And then when it's a good spot and I don't play him, that's when he goes off. But I definitely like Collins here against the Wizards. Him and Trae Young are the two standout plays from Atlanta for me. And then the rest of these guys like Bogdanovich, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, I'm not going to go there on this slate, I don't think. All those guys feel priced about right. So next game, Toronto and New York. We'll talk about the Raptors side first. So looking at the Raptors here, specifically when it comes to their starters, we know where the production and the minutes are going. I mean, Fred VanVleet this year has been playing massive minutes. He might lead the league in minutes by the end of the season. I mean, he's played at least 35 minutes in every single game. He's played like 40 minutes in two of their last 4 games. I mean, he's just getting massive run. The production's kind of been up and down this year from Fred VanVleet. The matchup's not great. The Knicks do play at a pretty slow pace. They've been a really good defensive team these last few, or especially last year and so far this year. The Knicks, I mean, defensively, yeah, they got the 4th best defensive rating in the league. So I do expect the Knicks to be a tough matchup. This is not a team you really want to be picking on, but VanVleet's going to play massive minutes. We know he has upside. I don't think he projects out as like a top play today, but someone I would have in my player pool if I was playing a lot of lineups. Same could be said for a guy like OG Anunoby, who's been great this year. He showed some upside as well. Price feels about right at $7,400, but still think OG's playable. Still think Scotty Barnes is playable. His price has also been way up, or come way up too, but his minutes have been massive. 36, 37, 35 minutes the last few games. He's been super productive the last 3 games as well. Kind of tough to play him at $6,800, but on Yahoo, I think Scotty Barnes definitely is in play over there. So Scotty Barnes at small forward is pretty cheap. He's actually cheaper than guys like MPJ, Gordon Hayward, RJ Barrett. He's only $23 on Yahoo. I definitely like Scotty Barnes a lot more over on Yahoo, where the price tag's just a lot easier to stomach. A little bit tougher to pay almost $7K for Scotty Barnes on Draftkings, but I definitely like him at that Yahoo price tag. Then Gary Trent, kind of been up and down, but he's getting the minutes. He has started the last few games. He's played at least 32 minutes in 4 of their last 5 games. I'm assuming Gary Trent starts, plays 30 to 35 minutes. He's a scoring-dependent player, so, he's kind of a guy that's frustrating to roster. If he's not knocking down shots, normally he's going to disappoint, but he's only $4,800. Again, we don't have a ton of great value on the slate. I think Gary Trent is a decent value play, and the Presta Chua, he's just been up and down lately. His minutes were really consistent to start the season, and now they've kind of come back down. So tough to roster Presta Chua at this point until we see him get back to playing consistent minutes, if he ever does. Really, I think for me, from Toronto, I don't think there's any standout plays from Toronto outside of Scotty Barnes on Yahoo. The guys like Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, you can play these guys in tournaments for sure. They all have upside, but at their price points, nobody from this Raptors team really stands out as like a core play. At least not in my opinion. And then on the Knicks side here, not too much I love from the Knicks. Again, another team where, for the most part, everyone on this team feels priced about right. Julius Randle, $9,700. Look, I'm a big Julius Randle fan. Julius Randle has massive upside. On this slate, am I going to play Julius Randle over guys like Jokic and Towns and Embiid? I'm not going to play Randle over those guys. I prefer those other studs. So I think Julius Randle will be really low owned. For that reason, if you want to play him in tournaments, by all means, go ahead. But I don't really like too much from the Knicks. I would say my favorite play from the Knicks is definitely Kemba Walker. Now, he was really bad to start the season, but he's definitely looked a lot better lately. The minutes have been pretty consistent, 28, 29, and 32 minutes the last 3 games. The production, though, that's what we like to see. 38, 35, 40 Draftkings points. He's been shooting pretty well, which, obviously shooting can regress. I mean, a guy can have a good shooting game one game and then shoot the ball terribly the next game, but it's good to see him at least producing. And I don't think Kemba Walker is going to be a player that only puts up 15, 20 DK points a night. I mean, Kemba Walker is going to be a guy that puts up 30, 35 DK points most nights. I don't think he's going to be at this price point for very long. I think once Kemba starts getting in his groove, he's probably going to be like a 6,500, 7K player for most of the season. I think we still are getting a little bit of a discount on Kemba Walker, and with him now starting to play better, with the production starting to be more consistent, I think at 5,800, Kemba Walker is definitely in play and probably my favorite play from this Knicks team. If I had to play anyone, but that's really it from the Knicks for me. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Denver and Memphis. So I would say this is probably one of my favorite games on the slate, just in terms of viable options. First off, at the top from Denver, Jokic, 11K. Look, any slate Jokic is on, he's going to be one of my favorite pay-up options. And on this slate, especially since we don't have Giannis, we don't have KD, we don't have Harden, LeBron, Curry. We don't have a lot of other stud options that we're used to paying up for. A guy like Jokic is definitely going to stand out as a top pay-up option for me. I like him a lot on both sides. He's definitely my favorite pay-up overall, and if I can try and or I want to try and play him on both sides if possible. We'll have to wait and see, what kind of value opens up as the day goes on. But Jokic, I think, is definitely a good play at 11K here. Matchup against Memphis, I do like a lot. Memphis so far this year, they've been playing at a top 10 pace this season. Memphis, I think, defensively will be, around middle of the pack. I think that's where they've been about so far this year. They've actually got the seventh best defensive rating so far this season, but really what we care about is the pace, and Memphis has been playing at a top 10 pace this season. Jokic, we know, he's a stat sheet stuffer. He's a guy that's going to play big minutes as long as the game stays close. If he plays 36, 37 minutes here, if the game stays close, Jokic can easily go for 65, 70 DraftKings points. We started to see some of those massive stealing games from Jokic. Put up 67 against Minnesota, put up 70 against the Spurs. Jokic is my favorite stud on the slate, and he's definitely, obviously, my favorite play from Denver as well. But the rest of these Denver guys, rarely do I play these guys when Jokic is healthy. Like Michael Porter Jr. at his price, Will Barton at his price, Aaron Gordon. Like, none of these guys stand out as, like, top options where they're priced at. Aaron Gordon was terrible for DFS last year. He's been a little bit better this year, been a little bit more consistent. The minutes have been pretty stable as well. I don't mind Aaron Gordon. Monte Morris was really good last game. His minutes have been pretty secure so far, and I think they'll be secure while, Jamal Murray's out. I think most nights we're going to get around 30 minutes from Monte Morris. But the production, some nights he'll put up 30 DK points. Some nights he'll put up 12 DK points. He's normally not that good of a point per minute player, but he's only 4,400. He's probably going to play 30 minutes. We'll have to wait and see what kind of value we get. But for now, I think Monte Morris is a okay value play if you're looking to go cheap at point guard. But clearly, Jokic is the best play from Denver today. Then on the Memphis side, John Morant in tournaments, I think makes a lot of sense. I think at 9,500, he's not going to project really well at his salary. He's not going to get a ton of ownership either. So if you want to play Ja in tournaments, he's definitely playable. There's other studs I prefer today, but I think Ja is someone that has massive upside and can put up a big game any night. I think if you want to, stack up Ja and Jokic together and just hope you get like a super high scoring competitive game, I'm totally fine with that. I will say that Ja's price on Yahoo's been pretty low so far this season. He's still only $38. I definitely like Ja a little bit more on Yahoo at that price tag. But then some of these other Memphis guys, like there's definitely some players on Memphis that are underpriced. So DeAnthony Melton's been playing around 30 minutes a night. He should continue to start and play around 30 minutes a night while Dillon Brooks is out. The production's kind of been inconsistent, but normally Melton is a pretty productive player when he's on the floor. I will say now that his price is up to $5,700, I'm not as thrilled about rostering him, but still playable at least because the minutes have been there. Jaren Jackson, though, definitely stands out. $5,400 is just way too cheap for Jaren Jackson. I don't know why DraftKings lowered his price tag so much. I know he had a bad game last game, but there's no reason he should be $5,400 today after he was $6,700 last slate. You look at the game log this year. So basically, any game where Jaren Jackson played 30 plus minutes, he was productive. So 31 minutes, 32 DK points. 31 minutes, 34 DK points. 32 minutes, 31 DK points. Last game only played 24 minutes, but it was a blowout. They lost by 26. I don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. played it all in the fourth quarter. Against the Lakers, he put up 24 DK points, wasn't as productive in that game, played 28 minutes. And then against Portland, he had 5 fouls in 18 minutes, so he was in foul trouble. Now, Jaren Jackson Jr. is someone that does struggle with foul trouble. He's a guy that he'll get fouls. If you roster Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm sure you know this. He's a guy that's super tilting the roster because he can pick up 2 fouls in 30 seconds. But $5,400 is definitely too cheap for Triple J. I don't know why he's this price tag. He's for sure going to project really well. I think he will be popular, but just in terms of like a 5K value play, he's underpriced today. So love Triple J at his price tag. I think Desmond Bane's playable, $5,300. He should continue to play relatively big minutes. His production's been a lot better this year than it was last season. He's been way more productive, been way more consistent. Worst game this year was last game, and that was 26 DK points, and that was also a game where it was a blowout. So he got pulled early. He probably would have went over 30 DK points last game had he played the entire fourth quarter, but he got pulled obviously because of the blowout. So yeah, Desmond Bane's been super consistent. He's been playing good minutes. Steven Adams been kind of inconsistent, but I do like Steven Adams today. I think this is a game where they're going to need his size against Jokic. So far the minutes for Steven Adams this year have kind of been up and down, but we've seen when he does get the minutes, he can be really productive, and they're going to have to play him big minutes because they don't really have anyone else that can guard Jokic, in my opinion. I think Steven Adams is like their best shot is slowing down Jokic. I guess they could put Triple J on him, but if Triple J guards Jokic, he might foul out in 5 minutes. So I think we get like 30, 32 minutes from Steven Adams today, and at $4,900, yeah, I definitely like him as a cheaper center option. He's for sure in play for me. And then that's probably it for Memphis. We can go ahead and talk about the last two games of the night. We'll start off with Orlando and Minnesota, then we'll hit on the late night hammer. But on the Orlando side, great spot here for some of these Orlando guys. Minnesota this year has been playing at a top 5 pace. They're 5th in pace this season. They are 3rd worst defensive rating. So Minnesota, another team that we expected, this year would be, or at least last season, they were a fast-paced team. They were bad defensively. And so far this year, it's been the same thing. They've been a fast-paced team. They've been bad defensively. So Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba, these guys for sure have upside. Jalen Suggs as well. At their price tags, though, I don't think they really stand out to me. Cole Anthony at $7,200 feels priced about right, but we know he still has upside. And in a good matchup like this against Minnesota, you could definitely catch a ceiling game from Cole Anthony. Same could be said for Mo Bamba. I do love this spot for Mo Bamba against Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has never been a good defensive center, and so far this year against the center position, the Timberwolves are allowing the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing centers. So I think it is a great spot for Mo Bamba. The price tag is pretty high, but he still has the upside to be a good play at this price tag. Like we've seen, Mo Bamba can put up 50 DK points. He's playing big minutes this year as well. But there's no standout plays from Orlando, just kind of tournament options. Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba, Jalen Suggs. Guys I like in tournaments, but don't know if I'd be playing them like as a core play or like in my main lineup. But then on the Minnesota side, Karl Anthony Towns, I like him a lot here. Now, I prefer Jokic. Between him and Embiid, I think it's definitely close, but it is a good spot for Towns against Orlando. Mo Bamba's not really that great of a defensive center. I don't think he's really going to stop Towns here. Towns, as we would expect, has been a fantasy monster this season. He's another guy that's kind of been inconsistent. He's definitely had some bad games this year, but we've still seen a big ceiling from Towns. 70 DraftKings points in 40 minutes against the Pelicans, only 29 minutes against Houston, 55 DK points. Like, he still has massive upside. The price tag is really high. I think at this price point, Towns is not going to project that well, and he's not going to get a ton of ownership. So he is a tournament stud option that I do like a lot. I would say Towns is probably one of my favorite studs in tournaments, whereas like in cash games and single entry lineup, main lineup, I probably would just try and get to Jokic. But I definitely like Towns for low ownership in tournaments. And that's probably it from Minnesota. Like, I don't think I'm going to pay $8,200 for Anthony Edwards on this slate. I don't think I'm going to pay $7,600 for D'Angelo Russell. For Minnesota, it's really just Towns for me, and that's probably it. So we'll talk about the last game of the night, OKC and LAC. Starting off on the OKC side, when it comes to this Thunder team, man, if you're going to roster any Thunder players, you just got to hope the game stays close. And I want to pull up SGA's game log and show you guys. So this year, if you look at his game log, basically the games he's done well were all competitive games. So Philly was a competitive game. SGA had 52 DK points. The Warriors game was competitive. SGA had 40 DK points. The Lakers game was competitive. SGA had 47 DK points. Last game against the Warriors, they lost by 21, blowout. SGA had a bad game. Game against Houston, it was a blowout. They lost by 30 plus. Terrible game for SGA. Utah, opening night, they got beat by 21, blowout. SGA had 26 DK points. So basically, SGA does terrible when it's a blowout, as you would expect, and then when it's a close game, normally he's going to put up a really good play, or he's going to be a really good play at his salary. So basically, if you play SGA today, you got to hope the game stays close, because if the game stays close, it's probably going to be because of him and because he's having a good game. If the Thunder get blown out here, well, SGA is probably going to disappoint. So I definitely like SGA. I hope, you got to hope that the Thunder can keep it close here. I think if you do roster SGA, it does make some sense to maybe play some guys on the Clippers side, because if the Thunder keep it close, obviously that means that guys like Paul George, Reggie Jackson, those guys are playing their full minutes as well. SGA has upside. It's just, can the Thunder keep the game close? Same with Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's going to get probably 32 to 34 minutes if it's a close game, and he also has a ton of upside for this price tag. Like, $5,200 is too cheap for Josh Giddey when he's playing 32, 34 minutes a night. But again, you got to work. The blowout could obviously hurt Giddey. It hurts SGA a ton. Giddey might still play some in a blowout, but even some of the blowouts this year, he's really only played like 20 minutes, 29 minutes. So I think Giddey and SGA are my two favorite plays from the Thunder. I'm not playing anyone else, though, on this OKC team. It's really just those two guys. And basically, if you do play those two guys, you just got to cross your fingers and hope that OKC keeps the game close. If they do, then I think we can look to some of these Clippers guys. Paul George against OKC, I mean, he could just absolutely go off here. OKC, he's going to have no answer for him. OKC, they've got Lou Dort, but Lou Dort's not going to stop Paul George. Without Kawhi Leonard, we know Paul George is going to dominate the usage on this Clippers team. Now, he is really expensive. He's $10,700. Paul George is another stud that, is going to rank down towards the bottom of my list, because I do prefer Jokic, Towns, Embiid, those guys, Sabonis, maybe even Trae Young for cheaper. But I think Paul George is a good tournament play. I think in any lineups that I have SGA, I might make sure to put Paul George in those lineups, because if I'm assuming SGA plays his full minutes and has a big game, that obviously means the game is close and that Paul George is playing his full minutes as well. So I do like Paul George in tournaments, but not a top stud for me at his price tag. Reggie Jackson at 6K feels overpriced, but he's taken a ton of shots this year. He's getting a lot of opportunity. He just he's a score-independent player, so you're going to need Reggie Jackson to get hot and to put up a really good shooting game. But if he does, he can definitely put up 35, 40 DK points. We've yet to really see a big game from Reggie Jackson this year, but with how much he's shooting the ball, the opportunity is at least going to be there for him. He's still playable. Zubac, his minutes have just been all over the place. I'm not going to play Zubac here. Eric Bledsoe started off the year really good, but he's come back down to earth. He started to look like Eric Bledsoe. Not going to play him. Nicholas Batum, though, I do like for value. So 4,100 on DK, relatively cheap. On Yahoo, Nicholas Batum is pretty cheap over there, only $11 at power forward. So without Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum been starting the last few games, been playing relatively big minutes as well. 26, 32 minutes their last two games. I think if today's game does stay close, we get around 30 minutes from Nicholas Batum. Now, Batum is not a great point per minute player, but if he plays around 30 minutes, especially in a good matchup against OKC, he can easily pay off 4,100. He can easily give us 22, 24 DK points. Again, we're going to have to wait and see what kind of value we get. Batum might fall down my list of value plays depending on what opens up, but assuming no other value opens up, I think I'll be looking to a guy like Nicholas Batum as a cheap value option. I mean, I've played him the last few slates. He hasn't been terrible. If we don't get any good value today, I think Batum at 4,100 is going to be on my radar because he's going to get the minutes while Marcus Morris remains out. But that's it for the Clippers, guys, and I think that does it for all 9 games on this Monday night slate. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Use promo code NOAH when you sign up for PrizePicks. Link down below in the description. They will match your first deposit up to $100, and you can check out their entire board for Monday night's NBA games. You can check out their board for Monday Night Football. You can make some picks for yourself. Just make sure when you sign up, you use code NOAH, so that way you do get that deposit bonus. And yeah, guys, that does it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Best of luck today, guys, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.